In this video, we're going to take a look at how we can produce our video to MP4. That way we can upload the MP4 final product to websites like YouTube or Vimeo. One thing I wanted to cover real fast before we produce the video is that you can add in effects, transition effects to your video overlays so it's not just appearing in your video. And I'm just going to show you that real fast before we get into producing. So I've added a transition into it from the transitions tab. And if I click play, just watch this area of the screen and watch how this video overlay pops in. So as you can see, there's a really neat effect that it's not just popping onto the screen like we had it doing in the last video. It kind of fades in. Anyhow, back on point, all you have to do to produce your video, once you have everything all set up, you have your transitions set up. Like one thing I like to do is I like to add a fade to black right on the last clip area. And in the beginning, sometimes I'll have the introductory video and I'll do a glow from one clip to the other. But anyhow, you can have your slider anywhere on the timeline. It doesn't matter. Once you're done, usually what you want to do is go ahead and file, save your project before you start rendering in case there's some kind of crash or problem that occurs. Then you go up to produce and share and you just go ahead and click that. And you're going to get a nice little production wizard pop-up window, and it's going to guide you through all the steps that you need to complete in order to produce your video. What I like to do is I like to set it to custom production settings. That way I can define all of the settings uniquely towards what I want the outcome to be. So I'll click custom production settings, then I'll click next. And we get another option to decide what format we want to export our video as. Do we want it to be a MOV, which is a QuickTime movie, a WMV, which is Windows Media Video. And you can just look through the list and see what options you have available. So you could also do just the audio of your clip instead of exporting video. That way you just get an audio file. I'm going to go ahead and use MP4 with the Smart Player Flash. I don't need the Smart Player. That's kind of a pre-built HTML5 smart video player as a single video on its own website page. So now I'm just going to go ahead with MP4 selected. I'm going to click next. If you want to export it with your own video player, you can go ahead and leave this option selected. I'm going to go ahead and decheck this box because I don't need the HTML5 video player because we're going to be uploading this to YouTube, so we don't need any video player. YouTube has its own video player. They just need the MP4. So I'm going to go over to size, and your video size, you're usually going to want this set to your recording dimensions, which is 1920 by 1080, and you can also make this a custom dimension by unchecking this keep aspect ratio. Then you go to video settings. You can pretty much leave everything here default. Now here's something I do want to explain is the encoding mode, right? You have quality and bit rate. Now that's just going to change what slider is presented here. And I want to explain something about this quality option. Most people that are new to developing videos, what they want to do is they want their video to be as crisp and clear and clean as possible. And the problem that happens there is that the higher the quality, the slower the video will stream. YouTube will already re-encode your video, and what's going to happen when you upload it to YouTube is they're going to actually drop your quality down to about 50% with what's in Camtasia Studio. So even if I were to set this at the highest quality possible, when I upload it to YouTube, they re-encode the video, and what you get back is about a 50% quality. I've checked. It comes out to about 50% when you compare the encoding bitrate of Camtasia Studio versus the encoding bitrate of what you get back from YouTube. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave it on 50 because if I raise this up, it's going to stream really slow from my website. Or if I lower it down, it'll stream even faster. But the lower you go, the worse quality it is. Really, 50% is kind of like the number. That's why I think they leave it there as default, because it's kind of the perfect setting. So my recommendation is just leave it at 50%. Don't touch it. But again, this is something you'll have to toy with, play around with, and decide for yourself. Is 50% cutting it for your purposes? For my purposes, 50%. I'm uploading this to YouTube. They're going to re-encode it, and they're going to wind up right back at 50% anyways. So I might as well just leave it at 50%. So then I go over to audio settings, and here you can have a little bit of options. You can raise it as high as you want. I usually just leave mine at 192 kilobits. And if you don't want any audio, you can decheck this box. Once you have all these tabs set up, you can go ahead and click next. Now here you can include a watermark if you want a watermark to appear sort of in the corner of your video. You can do that. I don't include watermarks, but that is an option that you have. And here you can set up your video info. If you wanted to click options here, you could set up the title, subject, category, and so on for the video so it's actually encoded into the video's information. That's up to you if you want to do that. I usually just leave it alone. It's not something that concerns me. So then I'll just click next. And here you want to go ahead and set your production name. So I'll just leave this as Camtasia tutorial. Then you pick a folder you want to export it to. I'll go ahead and change this. I'm going to go to Camtasia Comfort, click new, create a new folder, and I'm just going to output this. In fact, I'm going to output this to my desktop. So I'm just going to come up, click desktop, and click save. So that way it'll output this to my desktop. Now, if you wanted this to not only output it to the desktop, but also create its own folder and then put it on the desktop, you can check that box. And as you can see, it's going to create a folder on my desktop called Camtasia Tutorial, and that's where it's going to save Camtasia tutorial.mp4. Now, after it's all done, you can decide if you want it to show the production results, which will give you a pop-up window letting you know what all the information is that it output from the encoding. You can also choose to upload it by FTP. I'm not really going to cover that. I don't upload by FTP. I do it through my own manner, but again, we're going to be setting this up so you can just upload it to YouTube. So all you really need is an MP4. Once you have all that set up, you can just go ahead and click finish, and you're going to get this little rendering window. You don't want to close this because if you do, it will cancel your render, and you also don't want to click cancel. What I usually do to protect myself from accidentally canceling this, because this can take a while depending on the length of your video, is I like to minimize it. And once the program is finished rendering our video out, we'll get the production results window will pop back up, and we can take a look at the results, any information that we have in here, just to verify that we had all of our settings set correctly. So you can just look through this if you want. I usually just click finish because I'm pretty sure I set it up correctly. And you can go ahead and just minimize that window and go ahead and minimize Camtasia Studio. And right here you can see it's created our Camtasia tutorial folder, and it has created our video. And all I have to do is just double click on this to play it. And I'm just going to fast forward here to the portion of the video where we had some of the effects that we added in, so you can kind of see how it went in. Now here's our one transition. I'll go ahead and turn the audio back on. We're going to check that out. And you can see there was our barn door presentation that we did earlier, and here's our really cool swirl effect. And here we have the video is fading in, and I'll fast forward one more just to check to make sure that the voiceover worked. And it was right around here, if I recall, we did the voiceover. Get out the car. This is my car. Oh, I didn't want this car anyway. Yeah, you can't take me back. So as you can see, the possibilities with Camtasia Studio are endless. So again, you just got to get into the program and play around with it. And that pretty much concludes this tutorial series. If you'd like to learn more about Camtasia Studio, you can visit the TechSmith website where they have their own tutorial series. Now, it's not designed so much like this one. They pretty much cover one aspect at a time. It's not really a start to finish sort of series, but it will cover a lot of aspects that I'm not going to cover in this series. This is just a quick getting started series, so get you off the ground so you can just go ahead and start spitting out content. But again, Camtasia Studio is capable of doing additional things, such as with their Smart Player. You can add quizzes to your videos. You can add captioning. It can auto train your voice for captioning. But again, you'll have to go to their website to check all that out. Like I said, this was just a quick start tutorial series, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any questions or comments, please post below the video on brainpoof.com.